We're here at the Oak Alley Plantation. Going to do a tour. Morning.
Those are crepe myrtles that we're seeing. Lots of. They weren't eucalyptus like we thought.
All these leaves on the ground here yet from these oaks. That was resurrection fern. We go left or do we go right? Oh, we were in the back there. Now we're going to go in the front. Walk this real fast. Them massive beams. It's a quarter-mile sidewalk here, or entrance. We got to be back at the house in about 5 minutes for the tour, but there's no one here, so this is perfect. Look at that massive tree and roots coming out. We're not even quite to the end here. Diane's walking towards the end there. Imagine coming down here. But that one in the middle, that tree just really stands out. The roots on that one there.
These are Virginia or Southern live oaks. They're native to Virginia, but because of the South's climate, they thrive. Each of these was brought in using slave labor as an adult tree. It was right between the second and third bench on the far garden path, and the kitchen gardens would have expanded behind it. The dining room, that would have led you into the butler's pantry. Domestiques had to bring food through that door, plate it, and then it was all served into the dining room. Now, we lovingly call these trees back here the baby oaks. They range between 90 to about 150 years old. This, of course, is not an oak at all. This is your southern magnolia. This one's a little over 110 years old. In the 19th century, the back of the home is going to look more like this. The Ramon's main decorative gardens face the rear, and these would have been orchards on this side. Now, if you do go behind, you can see there's a path that veers away from the garden, and that will actually lead you down what is the People of Oak Alley exhibit, a bit of a walking timeline through those later owners.
Laundry kettles were very large and similar to sugar kettles in size and weight. While the two could be used interchangeably, most plantations had a fixed set of kettles and tubs reserved for laundry. These were positioned near a kitchen or work area where slaves monitored open fires and the plantation mistress monitored the slaves. Ognon worked as a seamstress and hairdresser for Selena Roman and her daughters. She was at their beck and call, brushing their hair and mending their clothes. As a house slave, Pognorn's appearance was a way for Selena to show off her own wealth. She wore better clothes and shoes than most slaves, but it also meant that she was expected to be presentable at all times. If her appearance did not meet expectations, she was punished. Anna's soap making was a dangerous job. First, she made lye by dripping boiling water over ashes, creating a toxic sludge that she collected in a bucket. When the lye was strong enough to dissolve a goose feather, she added animal fat and let it harden into soap. With each load of laundry, the lye and the homemade soap left chemical burns on slaves' hands and arms, making them as washerwomen.
Zephyr was the only enslaved laborer Jacques Romain freed. His story not only gives us insight into the complexities of the process, but life after manumission. Zephyr was brought to Oak Alley in 1836 with his wife Zaire and sons Antoine and Bacchus. They were property of Jacques' late mother, Louise. She had referred to Zephyr as a faithful servant and expressed concern that he and his family not be separated after her death. Whether it was for excellent service or simply in memory of his mother, Jacques filed for Zephyr's freedom in an act called manumission. Zephyr remained at Oak Alley with his enslaved family, working for Jacques as a free man. After 10 years, he saved enough money to purchase Zaire for $350. He was 70, she was 60. Once again, they decided to live on the plantation. There are a few reasons why Zephyr and Zaire might have chosen to stay at Oak Alley. One is that while they could leave, Jacques still owned their children. Antoine was his gardener, and Bacchus was working as an ox cart driver. Another possibility is that having been freed so late in life, it was unlikely Zephyr could earn enough to live independently. Many years later, a census recorded a field hand living at Oak Alley. The man gave his name as Zephyr Roman, a widower, age 100. Crate-a-Bois was born into slavery around 1799. First designated a house slave, he was repeatedly demoted, first to ox cart driver and finally to the lowest class field slave. With each demotion, his life became increasingly difficult. He received fewer clothes, was given harder jobs, and worked longer hours. Being demoted to field slave also had a bad effect on his health, and he developed debilitating rheumatism and asthma.
The tian is a piece of material wrapped around a woman's head. Similar to the West African gele, it was worn by enslaved women, but is most frequently associated with free women of color. In 1785, the Spanish governor, Esteban Miro, looking to restrict the social mobility of New Orleans' free American and Creole population, ordered all free women of color to identify themselves by wearing a tian. However, the women quickly repurposed this badge of low status. Using ribbons and pins, they turned it into a form of decorative self-expression.
Chattel slavery refers to the system or business of slavery. In it, the slave owner possessed authority over the health, liberty, and life of his human property. They were bought, sold, mortgaged, and traded as groups or individuals. When a slave owner died, appraisers assigned values to his slaves, just as they did to his furniture. Slavery first started to crumble at the onset of the Civil War. House slaves at Oak Alley ran away, an act known at this time as self-emancipation. While only a few years earlier they would have been caught and punished as fugitives, slaves could now disappear into the chaos surrounding New Orleans. Union General Benjamin Butler ordered slaves to return to their owners, stating that they were not free, but owners had to pay them. Most disregarded his order, and the question of free became subject to interpretation. By the time Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, many former slaves already considered themselves freedmen.